Last year, I opened the chest of a 67-year-old man whose arteries didn't look like arteries anymore. They looked like concrete pipes, hard, narrow, unforgiving. He was taking 4 different blood pressure medications. 4, and his numbers were still dangerously high. He wasn't careless. He wasn't ignoring his health. He was doing everything his doctors told him to do, and yet, there he was on my table. I've spent over 30 years as a cardiac surgeon, repairing arteries, restoring blood flow, and seeing firsthand what high blood pressure does when it goes too far. Now here's the part that should concern you. The real cause wasn't something rare. It wasn't genetics. It wasn't bad luck. The answer had been sitting in his kitchen every single day, right in front of him, and nobody told him. Not clearly enough. Not in a way that made him stop and change. And that's exactly why I'm telling you this now. Because after 60, high blood pressure is not just about salt or stress or aging. Something deeper is happening inside your arteries, and most people never understand it until it's too late. Think of your blood vessels like a garden hose. When you're young, that hose is flexible. It expands, it absorbs pressure, it adapts. But as you get older, that hose starts to stiffen. It loses elasticity, and suddenly the same amount of pressure becomes dangerous. Now here's the critical part. That stiffening doesn't happen overnight. It happens slowly, silently, driven by one thing most people completely overlook: chronic inflammation. You don't feel it. There's no pain, no warning sign, but day after day, meal after meal, it quietly damages the walls of your blood vessels, until one day, your heart is working twice as hard just to do something that used to be effortless. And this is where everything changes, because what you eat is either feeding that inflammation or fighting it. Every meal is a decision your body makes about your blood pressure. Most people never realize that. So today, I'm going to show you 5 simple changes. Not medications, not expensive treatments, just food, used correctly, to take pressure off your heart starting tonight. Stay with me, because the first one sounds almost too simple, and that's exactly why people ignore it. Let me ask you something simple. When you sit down for dinner tonight, what do you reach for first? For most people, it's automatic. A piece of bread, a spoon of rice, a bite of whatever is closest. No thought, just habit. Now I want you to change one thing. Not what you eat, not how much you eat, just the order. Eat your vegetables first, every single time, before anything else touches your plate. Now I know how that sounds. Too simple, almost pointless. But this is one of those small changes that creates a very real physiological shift inside your body, and most people have never been told why. Here's what happens. When vegetables go in first, the fiber begins forming a kind of physical barrier in your stomach. Think of it like a filter. Now, when carbohydrates come in after that, bread, rice, potatoes, the absorption slows down dramatically. Instead of a sharp spike in blood sugar, you get a slower, more controlled release. And that matters more than you think, because every time your blood sugar spikes quickly, your body releases insulin. And insulin doesn't just manage sugar. It also signals your blood vessels to tighten, to constrict. So right there, at your dinner table, without feeling anything, your blood pressure is rising, meal after meal, day after day. Now here's what surprised even me early in my career. Patients who didn't change their diet at all. Same food, same portions, same medications, but simply changed the order of how they ate. Vegetables first, protein second, carbohydrates last. Started showing measurable improvements. Lower post-meal pressure, less fluctuation, more stability, sometimes within just a couple of weeks. I had one patient, 71 years old, who told me, "This is the easiest thing I've ever done for my health." And he meant it. No restrictions, no stress, just a small shift in sequence. So tonight, before you reach for the bread, finish what your body actually needs first, because the order matters more than most people realize. Now let's talk about something that's probably already sitting in your kitchen, and most people either ignore it or use it for something completely unrelated to their health. Apple cider vinegar, 1 to 2 tablespoons, in a glass of water, with your meals. That's it. Now I can almost hear the reaction. This sounds like one of those internet tricks. Good. You should be skeptical, because most things that promise easy results don't deliver. But this is different, and here's why. The active compound in apple cider vinegar is something called acetic acid, and it has a very specific effect on your body. 2 effects, actually. First, it improves how your body responds to insulin. Remember what we just talked about? Those spikes after meals, the ones that quietly tighten your blood vessels. Acetic acid helps reduce that spike. Your body doesn't need to release as much insulin. And when insulin stays lower, your blood vessels stay more relaxed, less constriction, less pressure. Now here's the second part, and this is where it gets interesting. Acetic acid also helps stimulate the production of nitric oxide inside your blood vessels. Nitric oxide is something your body already makes. It's a natural signal that tells your arteries to relax, to widen, to reduce resistance. In simple terms, it makes it easier for blood to move through your system. And when blood flows easier, pressure goes down. That's exactly what many blood pressure medications are designed to do, just through a different pathway. Now, this doesn't replace medication. Let me be very clear about that. But it can support what your body is already trying to do. And for many people over 60, that support makes a noticeable difference. Now, there are two important things you need to know. First, never drink it straight. Always dilute it. At least 1 full glass of water. Undiluted vinegar can irritate your throat and damage your teeth over time. Second, if you have a history of stomach issues, acid reflux, or ulcers, this is something you should talk to your doctor about first, because your situation matters. But for most people, this is one of the simplest habits you can add. No prescription, no complexity, just consistency. 1 glass with a meal. And then you watch what happens over the next few weeks, because sometimes the smallest tools are the ones your body responds to the fastest. Let me ask you something most people never think about. What happens to your blood pressure while you sleep? Most people assume it just goes down, that the body rests, that everything slows down the way it's supposed to. But after 60, that doesn't always happen. In fact, for a large number of people, the opposite is true. Blood pressure stays elevated, or even spikes during the night. There's a term for this, nocturnal hypertension, and it's one of the most overlooked and dangerous patterns I see, because it happens when you're completely unaware. You go to bed thinking everything is fine, but your heart is still working harder than it should be. Your arteries are still under pressure, and you wake up feeling tired, without ever connecting it to what happened during the night. Now here's something that might surprise you. One of the simplest ways to support your heart at night has nothing to do with medication. It has to do with what you eat before you go to sleep. Specifically, walnuts. About a small handful, roughly 30 grams, around 30 minutes before bed. Now I know how that sounds. Too simple, almost insignificant. But here's what's actually happening. Walnuts are one of the richest plant sources of omega-3 fatty acids, the kind your body uses to reduce inflammation inside blood vessels. They also contain something else important, magnesium, and a compound called L-arginine. Together, these help your blood vessels relax. They support that natural drop in blood pressure your body is supposed to make at night. Think of it like this. You're giving your cardiovascular system a signal. Slow down, recover, reset, and in many cases, that's exactly what it does. Now, this isn't about eating large amounts. More is not better here. Just a small, consistent portion, every night, because what matters is the signal you're sending your body over time. I've had patients who started doing just this one thing, and within a few weeks, their nighttime readings improved. Their sleep felt deeper. Their mornings felt different. Not dramatic, but noticeable. And sometimes, those small improvements are exactly what your heart has been waiting for. So tonight, before you go to bed, ask yourself one simple question. What am I giving my body to work with while I sleep? Because what you do in those last 30 minutes can shape the next 6 to 8 hours more than you realize. Now I want to tell you about something that has been used for centuries, long before modern medicine even existed. A simple drink, a deep red tea. And for a long time, it was dismissed as just tradition, until the research caught up. Hibiscus tea. You might know it by a different name. Sorrel, carcade, red tea, different names, same plant. And what it does inside your body is surprisingly powerful. Let me explain why. Hibiscus contains compounds called anthocyanins. These are natural antioxidants. But more importantly, they directly affect how your blood vessels behave. They help your arteries relax. They reduce resistance. They improve flow. Now here's where it gets interesting. There's another group of compounds in hibiscus that act in a way very similar to a class of medications called ACE inhibitors. You may have heard of those. They're among the most commonly prescribed drugs for blood pressure. What they do is block signals that tell your blood vessels to tighten. And when that signal is reduced, your arteries stay more open. Pressure goes down. Hibiscus works in a very similar direction. Not identical, but close enough that researchers took it seriously. And the results surprised a lot of people. In one study, regular consumption of hibiscus tea reduced systolic blood pressure by several points. not a small change, a clinically meaningful one, the kind doctors pay attention to. Now here's the important part. This isn't about replacing your medication. It's about supporting your body, giving it another tool, a natural one, a consistent one, 3 cups a day, morning, afternoon, evening, hot or cold. What matters is consistency. Now, one caution. If you are already taking medication that lowers blood pressure, especially ACE inhibitors, this is something you should mention to your doctor, because combining effects without awareness can push things too far, and that's not the goal. We're not trying to force your body, we're trying to support it, gently, consistently. And here's something I've noticed over the years. The patients who do best are not the ones who make extreme changes. They're the ones who build small, repeatable habits. A cup of tea, 3 times a day. No effort, no stress, just part of the routine. And over time, those small habits begin to show up where it matters, in your numbers, in your energy, in how your body feels day to day. So ask yourself, what are you drinking right now? And is it helping your heart, or just filling the time? Now I want you to do something simple after this video. Go into your kitchen, open your cabinet, and look at the oils you're using every single day. Because what I'm about to tell you might be the most important change in this entire video. And it's also the one most people completely miss. Most of the oils you see in supermarkets today, canola oil, soybean oil, sunflower oil, corn oil, are extremely high in omega-6 fatty acids. Now, omega-6 itself is not the problem. Your body needs it. But the balance is the issue. For most of human history, people consumed roughly equal amounts of omega-3 and omega-6. Today, that ratio is completely distorted. 15 times more omega-6 than omega-3, sometimes even more. And that imbalance fuels something we talked about earlier, chronic inflammation, the kind that slowly damages your blood vessels from the inside, meal after meal, year after year. Now here's what makes it worse. These oils are unstable at high temperatures. When you cook with them, they begin to break down. They oxidize, and they form compounds that are directly harmful to your blood vessels. You don't see it, you don't taste it, but your arteries feel it every single time. So what do you do instead? 2 simple changes for most everyday use. Extra virgin olive oil. It's rich in compounds that actively support blood vessel health. And for higher heat, real butter. Not margarine, not processed spreads. Real butter, used in reasonable amounts. Now I know this goes against what many people were told years ago. Use vegetable oils. Avoid butter. I heard the same thing, but the science has moved forward. And after years of seeing what actually happens inside the body, the direction is much clearer now. This is not about perfection. It's about better choices, repeated consistently. Now let me take you back to the man I mentioned at the beginning. 67 years old, 4 medications, arteries like concrete. After his surgery, we had a long conversation. Not rushed, not superficial, a real conversation. We talked about everything you've just heard, one step at a time. Nothing extreme, no drastic overhaul, just small, consistent changes. 6 months later, he came back for follow-up. His numbers had changed. His inflammation markers dropped. His blood pressure stabilized. His doctor reduced his medication. And the first thing he said to me was this: "Why didn't anyone tell me this sooner?" That question stays with me because the information exists. The research exists. But somehow, it doesn't always reach the people who need it most. You are hearing it now, and that matters. Because this is not about doing everything at once. It's about doing something, starting tonight. Let's make it simple. 5 changes. 1. Eat your vegetables first. 2. Add apple cider vinegar with meals. 3. A small handful of walnuts before bed. 4. 3 cups of hibiscus tea. 5. Replace the oils in your kitchen. That's it. No complexity. No overwhelm. Now here's what I want you to do. Don't try to do all 5. Pick one. Just one. The easiest one for you. And start there. Because real change doesn't come from intensity. It comes from consistency. And your body responds to consistency faster than you think. So tell me, which one are you starting tonight? Write it in the comments. I read them. And if this helped you, share it with someone who needs it. Because there are people in your life right now who have no idea how much control they actually have. Take care of your heart. It's been working for you every single day of your life without asking for anything in return. Now it's your turn. One last thing. Everything I've shared here is general information based on research and clinical experience. It is not a replacement for your personal medical care. Before making changes, especially to your medications, talk to your doctor. That conversation matters more than you think. Take care of yourself, starting tonight.